Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Dave Apps from Premier Physical and Occupational Therapy in Ashland, Kentucky. And this morning we're going to interview Angie, who has a tremendous series of stories. And we'll just start with what brought you here, Angie?
Well, I had a piriformis injury from weightlifting, and I just had a constant pain, and my doctor sent me to therapy, and he sent me to an orthopedist, and the orthopedist recommended Premier.
Now, did the orthopedist give you any treatment at all?
The orthopedist gave me a long-acting steroid shot.
And how did that do for you?
That was the beginning of some relief after several months of constant pain.
So you suffered for several months?
Since Thanksgiving.
Oh.
And this is Valentine's Day, just past Valentine's Day.
Oh,
so
my word.
Quite a little time. And I thought it was a injured hip.
Okay.
And once I got here, having not really found out anything or had any relief prior to that, I got here and the person basically simply just told me, oh no, this is a muscle injury. And I was very relieved because the recovery time on a hip replacement's just kind of scary for somebody that works out.
And by the way, you're way too young for that.
I hope so.
Yeah, well, you are. All right, so when you talk about weightlifting, we chatted about this the other day. What got you started into weightlifting? You said 6 years ago?
I had gastric bypass 5 years ago.
Okay.
And it'll be 6 in August.
Okay.
And I just wanted to do something to prevent myself from going back because so many people have the surgery, don't do what's asked of them, don't eat correctly, and don't try to get some kind of physical activity in, and they gain all of it back and then more.
Well, you're exactly right. So why did you turn to weights? Why didn't you just start jogging?
Well, I had 5 and 6 fused together in '09. I had MRSA in my spine.
Well, that'd do it. But, weightlifting's pretty tough on your back if you don't use it correctly.
I had a good coach. My husband has been into lifting all of his life.
Beautiful.
And I'm just basically did again what I was told and followed his lead, and I had a personal trainer right in my home.
Oh my gosh, don't get it. You didn't have to pay him, did you?
No. I have to make a lot of dinners. I cook a lot.
I bet you eat clean and healthy.
I do eat clean and healthy, and we eat gluten-free if possible. We eat low sugar, low carb, high protein. I do cheat occasionally. I have 1 or 2 little issues with Cheez-Its, but not a big deal.
Well, I've always seen all these big weightlifting gurus say you have to have a cheat day, so you don't go crazy and go off of your diet.
And if it's too overwhelming, you have to start small. If it's too overwhelming, you'll quit.
Yeah, and that's true with anything. So, and the other thing that I found so intriguing about you is you kind of had like 3 lives.
I have.
Okay, you had some addiction, and then you had some more addiction, got your bypass, and now you're into weightlifting. And
another addiction.
Yeah, and that's okay because that's a healthy one. And when you increase your strength and your muscle mass, it increases your bone mass. And as women, you have a 75% risk factor of all osteoporotics that are diagnosed are women, 25% are men. So as you age, you lose strength, but you don't have to. With weight training.
No, you don't.
No.
I turned 45 in January.
Well, you look great.
Thank you. And I feel great. I feel better than I did at 25 because I get up, suit up, show up, and I do what's asked of me. I do the necessity.
Folks, I hope you heard that. She feels better at 45 than 25. And not this last Super Bowl, but the Super Bowl before, Tom Brady was asked if he was going to retire, and he said, why should I? I'm 40 years old, and I feel better now than I did when I was 25, when I hurt all over. He said, I've learned how to take care of myself and treat any injuries, and he's on a special diet as well. So what you're speaking is just exactly what Tom Brady said, and wouldn't it be wonderful if everyone listened to that?
It's very hard to do what's asked of you. And it's so monumental for people to do small things. Friends of mine ask me, well, what do you do? I tell them the first 2 weeks don't do anything but stop eating on a full-size plate and eat on a saucer. Don't change your diet. Don't take anything away. Don't add anything. Just simply downsize. Just something
exactly
small.
Right.
And that's it.
It's one small step. A Chinese proverb, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, and we have to take one step at a time. So let's go back many years ago when you found yourself in addiction, and you knew you had to get out of that, and then you got into another addiction to replace that one.
I did. I was addicted for 20 years.
Okay.
Marijuana, alcohol, narcotics,
Okay.
all of it. And to the point where it was misery, just misery.
Is that what got you to want to change your lifestyle?
It is, and I had 2 sons that I weren't getting to be involved with their life. I had family that I wasn't in contact with. Just the general addict's life.
Okay.
And you have to hit bottom, and you have to hear what you need to hear. I had heard everything in the world, and finally a friend of mine said, I was at Safe Harbor, and a friend of mine said, let's just get out of this room. And we went to a meeting, and like a voice in a whirlwind, I heard one word that made sense to me. And
that word?
That word, help yourself. You can't help anybody else if you don't help yourself
You
first.
can't change anybody else but yourself.
No. They make the comparison that you're in a boat, and if you reach down to help someone else and you're not ready, they can pull you out, but you can't pull them up.
Right.
So you have to do it for yourself. I tried to do it for everybody else.
Oh, well, that typical woman. What I've learned over all these, 47 years in physical therapy is women's work is never done, and they always take care of everyone else until they hit the proverbial brick wall and they can't go anymore, and then they show up at the doctor's office or here, and we got to undo 30, 40, or 50 years, and it's kind of hard to do. And that's just, I think, in your DNA as a woman, you just take care of other people. It's just a natural.
And it's a joke. It's a family thing where I'm intense, and as all addicts are intense, I have first gear and fifth gear and nothing in between. So you kind of you either go or you're just asleep, and that's just the only 2 measures you have.
You sound like my grandson years ago. He had 2 gears, just full out, and then
that's it. There's nothing in the middle. And even after overcoming a narcotic and alcohol addiction, and then switching to a food addiction.
Okay,
and
tell me about that.
The food addiction came after I'd been clean several years. I just found myself just absolutely occupying all my time with food. It was a ritual. It was a big meal. It was a dessert. It was this, that, all the time something to do, because you find yourself without a regiment and without a ritual to do for yourself.
So you're going to fill that space with something.
Right.
Okay, so tell me about sugar addiction.
Sugar addiction is, instantly it causes inflammation, and I have lupus, so I have issues with inflammation anyway.
Okay.
So I found myself in a state of 327 pounds, fresh out of back surgery.
Oh my word.
Barely could walk, barely could function, husband taking care of me all the time, and just half a bag of M&Ms was a light snack before, Law and Order. It was just something you just did. It wasn't, you don't even think about it. And if you know anything about sugar addiction, it's like I told you earlier, it stimulates 9 pleasure sensors in the brain when cocaine only stimulates 2.
Wow.
So you're getting way more as a food person, as a endorphin release, as a comfort than you do even out of cocaine per se.
So you blossomed up to 327 pounds.
327. I was a 5X on top and a 28 on the bottom. And I couldn't walk, I couldn't function, I couldn't do anything I wanted to do for myself.
Okay, so here you are, 327 pounds. What made you decide you wanted to change your lifestyle?
I took a fall, and I laid on the concrete beside King's Daughters Hospital at the apartment for almost 2 hours, and I couldn't get myself up. And as I was laying there, I decided either I was going to do something for myself. This just had to stop. You know, it's just like drug addiction. It's just like anything else. You have to hit bottom, and I hit bottom pretty hard that day. So
yeah, concrete's not forgiving.
Concrete's unforgiving, and the time that I laid there to think about it was what I needed to get my head in the right position.
Isn't it amazing how things happen in our life? I don't think those are random acts. I think that there was some divine intervention for you right there to say, hey, enough. And as you're saying this, years ago I read this book. It's about 200 pages by a Dr. Gerald May. And he's written several books. And he became a doctor and then a psychiatrist. And he dealt for 25 years with nothing but chemically addicted people, whether it was tobacco, whether it was alcohol, or some kind of drugs. And I can save you a 200-page read. Okay. Because it comes down to this. He said, no addict can be rehabilitated until they say two words: I quit.
I quit.
And my uncle, who smoked cigarettes from the time he was 14, I don't know when he quit, he's 70 now, so maybe when he was 60, his wife went and got acupuncture. They put needles in her ear, on her lip, and on her hand, and took away all her desire to smoke. And they smoked one after another after another. And how they were living is beyond me, but she quit, and about 3 days later he's out in his garage, and he's an engineer, so he's got like three of everything. It's you can eat off the floor. He's one of those guys, and I'm not. So I look at that with
I can relate.
I look at that with total envy, saying I wish I could be more like that. But anyways, he's out there, and it hit him. He said, if I'm going to help my wife, I've got to be tobacco free. So he takes the cigarettes and throws them away. So
you have to take a step in some direction. You have to take that first step.
And that was a step. And in 1980, my mom and dad quit smoking cigarettes, and they said cigarettes back then were a lot easier to quit than what's in the tobacco today.
Sure.
And so I asked him, I said, Bill, I said, Mom and Dad had like a month of just terrible. I said, how'd you? He said, well, I'm not going to lie to you. He said, the first 3 days were pretty rough, but after that was okay. Right. So my jaw dropped open. I'm thinking, what DNA is this man made of?
Because the first 3 days are physical. The rest of it is mental.
Exactly.
And that's the hardest part.
And here's the interesting thing. My auntie is a veteran of the Korean War. Now, she was not in the war, but she was a medic that was sent over there. And because there's never been a truce, it's still an ongoing conflict. And so she became a member of the VFW in Bradenton, Florida, and kind of rose up through the ranks because they're workers. And they also go to the American Legion. And they've got a lot of friends there, and they smoke. It doesn't bother them. It's never made them want to go back to smoking again. So I find that to be intriguing. Now, let's go on. You got your gastric bypass almost 6 years ago soon. 6 years ago. Okay, and your husband got you going into weightlifting?
Got me going into the gym to begin with. And you feel uncomfortable. This is nothing as a heavy person you've ever done before. So you feel self-conscious and you're nervous, and this is not my comfort zone or my place. So I did YouTube stuff at home for the first 3 months to try so I could feel at least like, if I have a conversation with you, I would like to be knowledgeable and feel like I know what I'm talking about. So I at least watch the videos and for this back exercise or this leg exercise or abs or whatever I was doing, I tried to learn something about it.
Good for you.
So I tried to figure out, and then I got a membership at the Y.
Okay.
And my husband was going to the Y every day, and for the life of me, I could not register how in the world he could spend 2 hours at the Y every day. What was he doing?
And then you found out.
And now it's like it's like second nature, and it's a passion, and you just have to kind of go past whoever's there and go, hey, I'm here for me. This is what I'm doing. This is not about you. And if they looks or whatever, what you find out when you lift heavy is that you have a lot of endorphins rushing, you have a lot of adrenaline going, you have a lot of blood pumping. Your face may not look very friendly. So you just kind of go about your business, and you're there for you, and just don't pay attention. Don't pay attention.
Yeah, well, if you're lifting heavy, you got to block everything else out,
right,
and you got to concentrate.
Right.
So speaking of lifting heavy, I talked to you last week, and you're telling me what you benched and what you're squatting. I don't know what other multiple compound movements you do. I don't know if you deadlift or.
I don't deadlift a lot.
Okay.
I deadlift somewhere between 250 and 3. It's not something I focus on because I have back issues and whatnot, where I had 5 and 6 fused together in '09. And I basically focus, my favorite spot is legs. And the piriformis injury that I came to Premier for, and then that they're treating extremely well, is caused me a lot of issues with my favorite subject, which is legs, because it's the muscle that runs across the gluteus,
right? And
the bend or the seated position and the squats that you do when you work with legs tends to put a lot of pressure on that. And on a hack squat machine, I basically do my personal best is like 750. I do for rep 680, and that's slowed me way down. But I feel like after 2 or 3 weeks of coming here that I've been able to work legs back in soft,
beautiful,
slow. I still belt, I still do my knees. I try to save from injury because there's nothing worse than a rehab.
Well, that's right, and especially from a back injury, or as you had a fusion.
A rehab workout is very lackluster and unsatisfying for somebody that lifts. And
we got to fix you up and get you out of here quick.
Right, so you're looking for that release, that normal therapy that you get from going to the gym.
Right. Well, I'm stunned. You're lifting. What'd you say? 775 with hack squats.
750.
Excuse me, folks. Just 750. Oh my gosh! And your bench.
285.
285. What do you rep with?
160, 65, give or take.
You go from 165 to 285? You can make that jump?
Yeah, but I only do it twice. When you PR, you
your personal record. Okay,
right,
gotcha.
You're doing your heaviest at least at once, twice.
Now, how long do you? Well, what's the interval in between doing your PRs? How many weeks?
I'd say 2, maybe 4 if it's a big weight gain.
Gotcha.
When I do anything addition on the hack squat, I wait 3 to 5 weeks, and a 20-pound addition on the hack squat's like putting a Toyota on you. You feel every extra pound. You know what, and you, like you said, you have to focus on nothing but that movement at that moment,
or you're going to get hurt, especially with that kind of weight.
Right. You have several people on your back, and if you make the wrong move, if your ankle's in the wrong position or your knees in the wrong direction, you'll suffer an injury, and then you'll be weeks, months coming back.
Well, you're exactly right. And you know, it's interesting as we see these young kids as they go through weight training. Some of them have very little coaching and end up getting hurt. Very interesting. Years ago, I had a big lineman. He was center for our team, and he came in because he was going from 350 to 135 on squats, and squats were killing him at 135. Well, this guy weighed probably 280 pounds.
Right.
When I looked at him to try to figure out why, his lower lumbar muscles were silent. They did not work whatsoever. So I had to use some stuff to wake those muscles up and then show him how to strengthen. Then he had no more problems. But how can someone lift, he was a senior at that time, lift all those years and not have those back muscles working? Well, it's because he's got wrong technique.
Right.
Okay.
His technique is definitely, and a lot of times I find I get a better workout not from my PRs or my big heavy lifts, but from the retention and the retracts of the muscle on a lightweight with several reps, you know, maybe a set of 12, a set of 15, clench the muscle, firm it up, and it's all about your technique.
Well, that's what Arnold Schwarzenegger said. I got to go to work and get a pump.
Got to get a pump.
Got to work out. Well, Angie, is there anything else in your story that we need to know? Because you've had, it seems like 3 lives. So you must be part cat. You got 6 more to go.
I hope not. No, a lot of this has, the maintenance part of it is not so fun. My other therapist at one time told me that I like roller coasters. I like the starting, the stopping, the quick drop and the up sweep and a lot of movement. I said, yeah, first, fifth, I understand. But the whole lifestyle thing is about maintenance. It's about maintaining, you know.
Well, folks, I just wanted to interview Angie. just go back and look at this again, because she's overcome so much that is claiming so many lives here in America now with all this heroin addiction and crystal meth addiction, and we're seeing youngsters dying. We're seeing them affecting their children. We have grandparents raising children now. So if Angie can do it, and I want you to know how proud I am of you. That's why I wanted to do this interview with you. If Angie can do it, anybody can do it. You just have to say, I quit. Or as she said, I can't take this lifestyle anymore. Same thing. So Angie, thank you so much for your time. You look wonderful. All I can suggest is that you just keep it up to the day you die.
That's all I can do. I have a grandbaby that says, I will. I will try.
Yeah, because you want to be alive to see that grandbaby get old.
That's the gift for all the work I've done.
Well, folks, we've had a great time here with you. It's February the 27th. It doesn't seem possible.
No, it doesn't.
It's warm out. I've got trees budding in the front yard and bushes in the backyard, and it's February. So this is crazy.
Tulips coming up on my steps also.
Well, there you go. So anyways, I hope you've learned something great out of this, and we appreciate your interest.